welcome. It's great to see you again, and I'm glad that you're able to join me. Just going to get started. I'm actually not going to get started early, but I just wanted to make sure that we got our microphone and everything set up prior to 12:30. So I'll be starting in several minutes. So while we're waiting for everyone to join us, and I know that most of you will be watching this on replay, I do want to encourage you to leave me some comments or questions. If you have questions for me, please ask them. And I know some of you have questions, so please do ask them. And I also would like to invite you to join my private Facebook group, and I'll leave a link for you there for that as well. So, how's everything been going with you? I hope it's been going well. I hope those of you that are watching have at least signed up for my free course, The ABCs of Smoother Speech. That's a course that you definitely want to sign up for. You can find that on my website, pro90d.com. I also hope that you have signed up for the 21 Steps, Start Speaking More Smoothly and Confidently. That's a course that you definitely want to be in as well. I do want to say this, and that is watching videos, listening to audio may inspire you. It may give you hope. It may even help you speak smoother temporarily. But in the long term, what's really going to help you is practicing, right? Practicing speaking your new speaking style. And number two, using your new speaking style every time you speak. Those are the two things. Now, there are other things as well. But if you really want to see results, you have to create a new style of speaking, and you have to practice that. So how do we create that? We know what it is, right? We determine what is this new style of speaking, and then we practice it. And then two, we use this new style of speaking in all of our conversations. Every time we open our mouth, we use the new style of speaking. That doesn't mean that it's always going to work. No. In the beginning, often it's not going to work, right? In the beginning, when you're trying to use it with friends or family or strangers or talk on the phone or something, it's not going to work. You're not going to get it, right? And there, of course, will be times when it does work. So it's going to be like a roller coaster. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't work. But you have to stick in there. You have to continue to systematically do minimally those two things. Practice your new speaking style, using your new speaking style. Minimally, you have to do those two things. And what will eventually happen is you'll start to see it work more and more, better and better. Okay? It just takes time for our bodies to grow and to develop. It takes time for our muscles to grow when we're working out. It takes time for us to lose weight. It takes time for our hair to grow, right? So it takes time for your nerve cells to grow, for your brain cells to grow and to make that connection, and then to wire together in such a way that this new style of speaking becomes very natural and easy for you. It takes time. And the thing that's different about speech, the thing that's different about this, is that you already have a current style of speaking. So it's not like you're starting out fresh with a clean slate. You're starting out with a current way, probably a disfluent way of speaking. So now you have this new way competing with the old way, which makes it doubly hard, doubly difficult. And the only way that you can overcome that is to do what? Practice the new style. And we're going to talk about why it's important to focus on the new style. That's what we're going to talk about today. But practice the new style, and what else? Use it every time you speak. Someone left me a comment. I may have mentioned this a week ago. This is kind of just some preview stuff that we're talking about now until 12:30. So if you're watching this, that's what we're doing. Someone left a comment that said, Michael Williams repeats himself a lot. I mean, I could barely get through one of his videos because he just repeats himself so much. And I do. I repeat myself a lot, and I do it on purpose. So I'm not senile. I'm not doing it by accident or because I forgot that I just said something. I repeat myself on purpose, and I have a reason for doing that. And those that don't like it and can't stand it, then they're just not going to watch me or listen to me. And I understand that, because there are some people who I might watch, I'm like, I can't listen to this person. There's something about their style, personality, or whatever. So if you hear me repeating myself, it's on purpose, it's for a reason, and if you can stand it, you'll understand why, and you will experience the benefits of that repetition. So I think we've got about 1 more minute left, and we are going to go ahead and get started and jump right in here. Today, we are going to look at I guess it's really the third video that we've done based on my little book, Don't Try to Stop Stuttering, Replace It, okay? And today, I want to focus in on one thing. There's going to be one major takeaway from this session, so it's going to be relatively short. I mean, it will last for the 20 minutes, but I want you to take away one primary thing. And I'd like to start this off by telling you a little story about one of my first clients. And let's just call her Rasha. And she actually lived and lives in India. She's one of my first clients. And Rasha had been stuttering for years, since she was younger. Her parents took her to some of the top speech therapists in India. And she said it helped her a little bit, but she still essentially stuttered. She was unable to get a job because she couldn't pass the interviews. Sometimes she couldn't even take the phone calls. She didn't like to go shopping, right? She wanted her husband to make a lot of the phone calls for the household. She struggled with her parents, and I've had plenty of people who have a hard time having long conversations with their fathers, especially their fathers, but their fathers and their mothers. They just can't have a good conversation because of speech. And so she had all of these challenges, but she was committed to making a change. And so she would tell me that, often while she was speaking, what she would be thinking about is, I hope I don't stutter. I don't want to stutter. I don't want to get stuck here. I hope I don't stutter when I make this phone call. I hope I don't get stuck when I'm trying to get started. I hope I don't stutter when I'm trying to introduce myself, right? I hope I don't stutter when I go to place this order. So her thinking was about what she did not want to do, And what we had to do is we had to get her to the point where she stopped thinking about what she did not want to do, and she started thinking and focusing on what she did want to do. So the title of this particular session is why it's important to reset your goals. Do you need to reset your goals, Now, what do we mean by resetting our goals? And we'll tie that in with the story that I just gave you. Often, when we want to stop doing something, that is, we want to stop stuttering, right? That's what we want. I want to stop stuttering. We want to stop stuttering. Then we set that as a goal. My goal is to stop stuttering. Why? So that I can do these things, right? So that I can get a better job, so that I can talk to people normally, right? So I want to stop stuttering. But should that be your goal? Should your goal be to stop stuttering? Well, I want to submit to you, no, your goal should not be just to stop stuttering. Why? Because if you focus, no, if you set as a goal to stop stuttering, then what you're doing is you are going to then focus your thoughts, focus your mind, focus your attention, focus your energy, your actions on what? The stopping of stuttering. So you're going to focus on techniques and tips and strategies that will help you not stutter. So what's wrong with that, Michael? I mean, isn't that what you give us sometimes? Don't you give us techniques and tips and strategies and things to help us stop stuttering? Isn't that what we want? Well, in part, yes. In part, yes. We do want to cease stuttering. We do want to stop stuttering. But a better way, a more effective and even a more efficient way of accomplishing our goal is to reset the entire goal from I don't want to stutter, I want to stop stuttering, to reset it from that to I want to start speaking this way. I want to start speaking more smoothly. I want to be able to speak more fluently. I want to speak with greater confidence. Those are the three things that I use. I want to speak more clearly, right? I want to be more calm and relaxed before I speak and while I'm speaking. So those are our goals. So we have to reset our goals from I don't want to stutter here, I hope I don't stutter over here, to I want to start speaking this way. Now, how does that tie in with our story? Well, once she started to focus on how she did want to speak, then she was able to, now watch this, this is one of the major points that I want you to take away. While she was talking, or even before she started talking, instead of thinking, I hope I don't stutter here, I don't want to stutter while I'm talking, she was able to say, I want to extend my words more. I want to articulate better. I want to breathe more rhythmically. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? On the one hand, a person's thinking, I hope I don't stutter now. I don't want to stutter. What do you think is likely to happen if we say, I don't want to stutter? Well, what the brain does is the brain does exactly what you say you don't want it to do. Why? Because now it is fixated on the thing that you have told it you don't want to do. You've brought it into its purview. You've brought it into its line of sight. Okay? So it's almost like if I say, don't think about a red sports car. You've heard this before. Don't think about a red sports car. Well, some of you, many of you, maybe most of you, in order to not think about a red sports car, you have to have a reference, right? You have to have a reference so that you say, I don't want to think about a red sports car. What's a red sports car? What does a red sports car look like? So that I don't think about it. And so once you know what a red sports car looks like, you have the reference point, now you can try to not think about it. So what ends up happening is what? You start thinking about a red sports car, and sometimes you can't stop. Okay? So it's the same thing. When you tell yourself what you don't want to do, what you want to stop doing, you are more likely, not all the time, right? I'm not saying 100% of the time everyone does this, but many people do, most people do, right? When you tell yourself what you don't want to do, you're probably going to think about that thing, either consciously or subconsciously, and you're probably going to end up doing it exactly. So, what do we have to do? Well, we use that same functionality, right, that same brain functionality to help us focus on what we do want to do. So we already know what we don't want to do. Now let's focus on what we do want to do. How do I want to speak? Well, I want to speak smoothly, fluently, confidently, clearly. Okay, that's great. What does that mean? What does that look like? What does it feel like? Well, it means that I need to articulate more. I need to maintain better eye contact. I need to use my hands, use my body more. I need to extend my words. I need to inflect. All of these are very specific skills that I teach, that you learn. I don't just teach them, but you learn them when you work through the program in the Pro 90D speech system and in coaching as well. So how do you want to speak? Well, those are some specific skills that you want to use while you're speaking. Now, what does this mean? This means that now while you're speaking, you have something that's more positive, that's more constructive. Listen, something that's more constructive for you to focus your mind on, for you to focus your attention and your energy and your efforts on. Now, does this make sense? Right? So while you're speaking, now you can say, let me just focus now on extending my words more or finishing my words. One of my clients yesterday or the day before said, you know, when I finish my words, it feels more relaxing. Okay? So you have to reset your goals. You reset your goal from the stopping of stuttering to the starting of speaking in this way, right? You reset your goals from what you don't want to do to exactly what you do want to do. Now someone says, well, how in the world can I speak and think about the message when I'm thinking about the mechanics of speaking? Let me repeat that. Yes, let me repeat that. How in the world can I focus on all of these things at the same time? How can I focus on the mechanics of speaking as well as the message of speaking? Well, believe it or not, your brain can do it. But what I would advise you to do is to take one skill at a time and focus on that one skill for a period of time until you get it, And once you've learned these skills and you're able to practice them and use them, the brain is so powerful that you can go back and forth and say, I'm focus on this now, I'm focus on that, I'm focus on this, and still think about the message. Now, listen, stop. The one thing I don't teach is for you to have to focus on using all of these tools, these skills and techniques for the rest of your life. I don't teach that. There are techniques and strategies and even tips that we may have to use in the short term, right? We may have to use them in the short term to begin to create successful speaking experiences. Let me say that again. We quite often have to use techniques. One such technique I call airflow linking. Another technique might be just adding a word or two in front of what you need to say to get started. These are techniques, these are tips, these are tricks, and we certainly may have to use them to develop that momentum to build successful speaking experiences. Okay? However, be very careful that that's not the only thing you rely on. That's not the only strategy you use to reach a level of fluency. What I teach is not just getting you to the place where you don't stutter because now you're using these techniques. No. What I teach is use the techniques as a short-term strategy, but let's create a new speaking style. Let's replace your old style with a new one that then becomes your normal way of speaking. That then becomes natural and what? Automatic. And once that happens, you no longer have to think about how you're speaking. Now, will there be times where you'll have to use a tool or a technique or a trick? Absolutely. There are still times when I have to use a tool or a technique or a trick to get by a word or to get over a word or to do whatever. And the truth is, when you talk with anyone, even people who don't consider themselves and never have considered themselves as stutterers, even when you talk to them, there are certain times where they fumble over their words and they have to take a deep breath and relax and go back and re-say something, or where they have to focus and articulate, right? Because They're speaking too fast, maybe because they're nervous. They're in an interview. They're doing a presentation. They're talking to someone in a position of authority. They're frustrated. They're anxious, right? So even people who do not stutter have to regroup and use some of these techniques so that they can speak fluently. So who are people who stutter or who used to stutter? Who do we think we are to think that we never have to use any tools or techniques if we get nervous or we get frustrated or we're speaking to someone in authority? Of course we will sometimes. Everyone does. Everyone does. But the difference is going to be you're going to be in a place where you are going to have a command of speaking. You're going to have a command of your speech. You're actually going to speak better than average. And you will have the tools at your disposal which will give you this feeling of freedom, where you say, you know what, I can handle myself in virtually any situation. No matter how nervous I get, even if I get stuck on this, I know that there are things that I can do now. I know that there are several things that I can do to get by, to get over this, whatever it is, this block or this word that I'm getting stuck with, this nervousness. The difference is, when that happens, it won't impact you. You won't think about it for a day or a week. It won't bring you down. You'll do it, you'll get over it, you'll get by it, you won't even think about it twice, you'll just keep going. And beyond that, you will actually see yourself, you'll actually believe, now listen, you'll actually believe, I really am an excellent speaker. And people are going to start to tell you, you know, not just that your speech is really improved, but that you're really an excellent speaker, you're a great speaker, you're a good speaker. Many of my clients, many of the people that I talk to actually have great speaking styles. They have great voices, but it's hidden beneath the stuttering. And once we remove the stuttering, once we remove it, then their greatness comes out. I mean, I hear people with great voices or great rhythm, great style, great things to say. Those people are really cool and smooth, but the stuttering is covering it up. It's keeping them down. It's holding them back. And once we remove the stuttering, man, these people are powerful, powerful speakers, okay? So you have the potential. It's there, but you have to reset your goal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to give you a takeaway. And the takeaway is this. Your goal should not be on, let me back up. Your goal should not be really to stop stuttering. Your goal should be to become an excellent speaker. Your goal should be to speak smoothly. Your goal should be to speak fluently. Your goal should be to speak clearly, confidently. Your goal should be, in the short term, right? In the short term, while you're working on this, you're going to have some sub-goals, and that should be to articulate well, to use your body while you're speaking. To use, not let your body use you and do what it wants to do, right? But for you to use your body so that your body is doing what you want to do. Your hands are doing, your face, everything is doing what you want it to do. Your goal should be to create a rhythmic way of speaking. Your goal should be to breathe, right? Sometimes people, their breath stops. They can't get out what they want because everything stops. And part of that comes from habit. Part of it comes from just the way we speak. Did a little tip or trick, if you will, with a couple of my clients. And one of my clients sometimes would say, yeah, and he would cut, he was trying to say yeah or yes, and he would say, yeah. I want you to try saying yeah, and then cut the yet off right there. Yeah, right? Yeah, Y-E-A. And go yet, and then cut it off. How do you cut it off? By constricting your vocal cords. Yet. So I have to constrict my vocal cords and the airflow in order to cut the word off at the end. Yet, and some people speak like that, right? They're constricting, and no air's coming out, no airflow. So I said, say, yeah, yes. And he said, yeah. And he said, ooh, that feels relaxing, right? And he's 14 years old, and I work with people who are 14 and who are 48, 58, okay? So it doesn't matter. So yeah, feels more relaxing. The airflow is going. Now he's ready for his next word. Does this make sense? So you want to focus on things like breathing, articulating, extending, inflecting, all those skills that we teach in the Pro 90D speech system and in coaching. Now you probably hear me throwing these things and say, okay, Michael's marketing his Pro 90D and speech system course. I'm letting you know it's available, and I'm letting you know because it works. And I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be doing this if it didn't work. Okay, I wouldn't be able to make a living at it if it didn't work. It works. It may take longer than we want, but it works. And it's your responsibility to make it work. I'm going to give you the tools. I'm going to give you the tools. And I know that even if it takes a year, I know there's people that I have been working with for 6-7 months longer, and they've taken responsibility for their own progress. They've taken what I've taught them, and they've gone out and they've learned some other things that supplemented the work that we've done, the foundation that we've laid down, and they're taking responsibility for their speech. And they are improving dramatically. I mean, one guy, I could barely have a conversation with him. Now it's no problem. Have conversations with him. He does excellent presentations, right? On video, especially, and his in-person presentations are getting better and better, phone calls and so forth. He's taken personal responsibility for it. So, let's back up, let's recap, and let's wind it up right. Wind it down. And that is that you reset your goals. Your goal should not be to stop stuttering. Your goal should be to start speaking. How? You define how you want to start speaking. And I've given you some ways, some characteristics of excellent speech. And then more specifically, you want to start speaking. You want to start articulating more and inflecting and extending. Those are some very specific skills that you can focus on while you are speaking, rather than focusing on, I hope I don't stutter. I hope I don't get stuck here. Okay? That's your takeaway. Reset your goals, focus on how you want to speak, and not on how you don't want to speak. You can become an excellent speaker. You deserve it. You're worth it. The time's going to pass anyway. The only question is, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, will you be any better? Will you have taken any action to be better than where you are now? Because if you wait and you keep searching and you're doubting, I'm not sure, I wonder, well, I don't know about that, Michael, let me check out this program here. I have people who have gone out and they've spent thousands of dollars, and a couple of years they come back, okay, Michael, I'm ready. Boom, 3-4 months. Oh my God, I can't believe my speech. Okay? So I'll see you next time. Please leave your comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next live episode. Feel free to share this. I'll see you later.